In this chapter, let us create a custom permission levels in Sharepoint. In the earlier video, we have seen that how to create a different kinds of users in Active Directory and how to bind users to the Sharepoint default permission groups. And in this chapter, let us create a custom permission group on custom permission level and bind the users to the permission group or also on permission level. Let's get back to the site. And in site actions, yes, right now user 3 has logged into the website. Let us log in as an user 1 who has a full control permission on our website. User 1 and now site actions, site permissions, and here in the ribbon interface of an permission tools we have an option called as an permission levels, and we can see this already. A design permission, persons can view, add, update, delete, approve or even customize, whereas a full control has a full control, whereas a contribute permission can view, update and everything in the list items or even on the documents but cannot customize. Whereas a person who has a permission to a read can view the list items and they can even download the permissions. They have a download permission also. And generally the read permission level is associated with an site visitors. Whereas for the viewers, they can view web pages, they can view the list items, they can view the documents, they can view the various kinds of documents, and the only one option is but they cannot download. So viewers cannot download it. So these are the two different kinds of things that we have it here, read and view, and explicitly the description is very important to know based on the description only the user can easily understand what kind of permission that he has on this permission level. So let us create a new permission level. Add a new permission level. Let's name this permission level as add items and documents. And whereas in this permission level we can only have three different kinds of permissions. One is that list permissions, site permissions and personal permissions. Right now the personal permissions we were not interested in. We were purely interested in list and site permissions. But we don't have anything like a library permissions. Possibly if you remember, I also stated that already, library is also a kind of a list. So even library permissions has to be get managed within list permissions only. And right now we have stated that the name of the permission level is add item and documents. So I can say users can add items and documents and list and libraries. So in order to have an add permission, first of all I should check on add items permission, and this permission also given for add documents. You can see add items to the list and add documents to the libraries. That's what I wanted. And immediately the person who want to add it, the view permission is also by default given by the Sharepoint server itself. And I'm not going to check on edit, I'm not going to check on delete and approving, open items, view version. These are secondary options as well. And purely I was interested only in adding items. And at site level, yes, the person should able to view the data on a website. So first of all, he should log into the home page. So that's the reason he should have an permission on a view application pages of a site. So two options are being checked totally in the site. And open items. So he should open the list, folders and everything, right? Once if you get into the library, if there is a folder in the library, that also you should see. So that's the reason open items permission is also given. Let's click on create. No permission selected in the, at least select one permission, it says. Oh, that's maybe unchecked by default. Add items, view items and view application pages at site and open. Now let's click on create. Now there is an add items and documents permission is created. Now my intention is to bind user 4 for this particular permission level. But what we knew in a site permissions, we cannot directly give a permission to the permission level. Rather, we can create a permission group on a permission level, and in the permission group we can have an users in it. But what is my intention? A user for is a person. I don't want to create a specific group for him. Rather, I want to grant permission directly to the permission level, not to the permission group. In order to have this particular requirement, we need to just use this option called as an grant permissions. From the permission tools ribbon interface, we have a grant permission. So here I can enter the username, that is user4. User4 is going to have permissions directly from the permission level, that is add items. I'm not going to create any group. So just click on OK. Now you can see this. User4 is directly getting a permissions on the site permissions. He is not part of any other group. And of course, whenever you want to have a multiple users with the same permission level, then in this case we can go for group creation. Let's also create a group. Let's create a group by name add items. User 1 will be an owner for this. Okay, group owner. And for this group, I want to have a permission level of add items and document create. Now you can see automatically user 1 is also having some permissions because he is an owner for this. Now if you go to site actions, site permissions, now you will find that there is a group called as an add items, which has a permission level of add items and document. Now if I go to this particular group and add the users, every user will have a same permission level, that is add items only. A group will be created whenever we have a multiple users with same permission. When I don't have a multiple permissions to be for multiple users, then I don't use group at all. Precisely, I'll only make use of my grant permissions and give the permissions for the users directly. Okay, let's go to browse option, home. Let's log in as a user. DSS 23. Now if you closely observe this, user 4 has logged into the machine, but in the left side quick launch, every option is not visible here. Since there is a site permissions view application pages is enabled, of course you can view the data which is there in a website. There is a shared documents here. Even if I add a document here, then also the document will be actually added in the shared documents only. But you can closely see this. There is no views all site content also available for him. But I strongly believe that user 4 is having some permission of add. And why it is not listed here? Because the user 4 is not having permission to view application pages of a list. Home.aspx is a site page. Whenever we are seeing the list data, we are actually seeing all items.aspx is nothing but a view name. So we haven't given any permission for an user 4 to see that view information. That's the reason every list is not shown here. So to make it clear, let it log in as an user 1. DSS 123. Let's get back to the permission level which we created. Site permissions, and in the permission levels I have add items and edit documents. Check on it and open this add items and documents permission level. If you closely observe this, in a list permissions I haven't checked view application pages of a list. I have checked on view application pages of a site. That's the reason I can see home page, but I cannot see any list information because view application pages is unchecked. What are these application pages of a list? First of all, when you are actually in an employee or any other thing, you can closely observe this. All items.aspx is an application page of this list. It's not an application page of a site. So simply if you give a permission to see the view data, it will not give a permission for an view items page. That is all items.aspx page. Explicitly we have to provide a permission to see this data also. So that's the reason I'll go to site permissions, permission level, and customize my permission level. Now I will also check on view application pages. So it's modified. So do you want to create one more permission level based on this? So if it is the case, you can go to copy permission level. If you don't want to create one more permission level, I'll say submit. I'm just updating my permission level. Automatically user also gets updated. Now user 4 is also having view application pages on a list. Now let's go to the home page and sign in as a user 4. DSS 123. Now you will see this, the list or libraries is enabled. So if I first time only, if I might have checked it, you may haven't noticed it. That's the reason I have unchecked and came to it, and once again I modified it. So user need to have a view application pages permission. That's very, very important point. Now I can go to the list. Say I have an add level permissions. I can add the data into it. Let's say I'll add it. Employee name. Maybe something like Mahesh. Hire date would be on so and so date. Save it. My data I got immediately saved here because I have an add permission. But can I edit it? No, because edit item is reserved. I cannot even delete it. Same thing also happens in a documents library also, or any other library. You can go to shared documents. You have a permission to add document. You can browse and add any other document which you feel. And yes, why the user is access is denied for this? Carefully observe. The fundamental document is already there here. This one. That's the reason the user is not having a permission, because right now the document is checked out. Maybe this is also a permission, and where user 4 is not directly getting it because he is not having a permission to edit. And we have enforced one value, automatically document has to be checked out when it is uploaded. That's the reason user 4 is restricting. But you can see, even if I cancel the operation, fundamental document is actually there here, and it is uploaded by user 4 only. Okay, very, very important point. The only option is when you uncheck the option called as an automatic checked out option should be no. Then user 4 can automatically upload, because when you check out, he is doing an operation of editing, which is not possible for an user 4. That's the reason it's given an error message like access is denied. I hope I make sense on this point. So that's how the user 4 is having a permission. Now I want to create one more permission level where the permission level is given for an user 5. For this permission level, I want add and I also want delete but not edit. Let's see how to work with this condition. So creation of a permission level is specifically given for the administrators only. Let us log in as administrator. User 1, CSS advantage. Go to site actions, site permissions. Once again, I would just want to edit this permission level, it's already there. So I'll go to permission levels. Now I'll also say add and edit. So in order to have an edit permission, first we have to specify permission called as an edit items. When edit item is enabled, edit items is list in list and edit documents in document libraries and customize. Okay, actually we have planned for an delete. Okay, if you want to have an only delete, you can uncheck it. Let's say delete items, because I have told that we have an delete permissions. That's okay, no problem. So just click on submit. Come back to this employee. Now let's log in as an user 4. And previous case we also seen that user 4 can add the document into the list. That's what we already seen it. But something documents already there in it, I want to delete also. Now in this case I can also delete, but I cannot edit it because I haven't checked out edit item. This is how we have to create permission, custom permissions, and binding the users to the custom permission level. That's clearly given in the handout, how to create a permission level and how to bind the users to the permission level that we created. That's all in this video. In the next video, we'll create custom permissions on a list or a library. Thank you.